only legacy remains. Remember the name, Aljamain Sterling. It ain't motherfuckers.
All right, guys, UFC 299 is in the books. That was a great card, pretty much from top to bottom. I had a great time watching the fights. I hope you guys did too. Now, we got to get into it. Let's start with the main event. Again, I'm going to get shit for this, but I'm going to say it anyway. Guys, I have nothing against O'Malley. I thought he's a great fighter before. I still think he's a great fighter now. And I'm very much looking forward to his fight with Merab. But let's talk about the performance. I thought he did a great job. And like I said, I think he would fade later on. And that would be Chito's moment to try to get back into the fight. And I thought Chito did a great job trying to get back into the fight. But as we can all see, Sean was still able to put on the finishing. Let me not say finishing touches. He was able to put on the touches to keep him at bay. Landed that beautiful knee in the second round. And as the fight got longer, closer to that fourth and fifth round, you saw Chito have some moments. But even when he had those moments in that fourth round going into the fifth, O'Malley was able to find a beautiful shot in that fifth round that hit Chito right in the eye, whether it broke a socket, which is the orbital bone, or something like that. But Chito couldn't see for quite some time in that fifth round, which allowed Sean to kind of get back, take his time, control his breathing, and put on some more beautiful strikes in that fifth round. And it almost looked like he was about to get Chito out of there once again, kind of similar to that second round when he landed that crazy knee up the middle. I don't know how Chito ate that. But he showed his toughness and his durability. And this is what I said before going into this fight. Chito's the more durable fighter. O'Malley's the more skilled fighter. And that was the telltale for me. And it's not that Chito's not a great fighter. I just didn't think this was the right moment for him to show that he's earned the shot to be there. But still a great fight nonetheless. I thought it was as one-sided as it can be. And I'm trying to speak as honestly as I can. I'm not trying to bash Chito, kick him in while he's down. Not at all. That's not what I do. But if I'm going to break down fights, I got to tell it how it is. And I thought Chito did a good job of trying to hold himself together and deflect some of the damage. But I thought in the first fight compared to the second fight, he didn't get to the leg kicks. He didn't even try to put some punctures in the tires, which are the legs. You puncture the tires, you slow down the guy who's very good with great footwork, great lateral movement, who can get in and out, use those feints that O'Malley does where he's going here. And I thought Chito kept looking in his eyes. Look at me in my eyes, Chico. And when you do that against a guy who sells great feints, and he starts to look down and look away, and he starts to kind of distract you, and you start to kind of get lulled to sleep with that, it makes it so much easier for those feints to start to add up, overload your nervous system. And then that guy who's a much better sniper, who's quick getting in and out, fast twitch muscles, and more skilled in this particular fight, gives him a better opportunity to pick his shots and kind of score and run up the points on you a little bit, so to speak. So I thought Chito did a great job as best as he could. I thought what we saw in the fourth and fifth round was going to be Sean slowing down, which we noticeably all saw. And again, I kind of go back to my fight with O'Malley, and I said, like, that was the game plan going in. Try to kick out the legs, make it a boring fight as much as I could, and hopefully take out the legs where he gets frustrated, makes a mistake, or he gets tired and I beat him going into a decision. Unfortunately, obviously, I didn't do that, didn't follow the game plan, and O'Malley was able to follow his game plan and land a beautiful right hand that ended up being the beginning of the end for me and in that fight. And I thought Chito, if he didn't make that same mistake, it would be a great fight for him the longer the fight went. And again, I thought O'Malley did a great job adjusting with the gas tank, but we saw that there are some potential concerns. But, of course, it's 25 minutes, and if you're piecing somebody up for that long, I would expect you to slow down, right? That's normal. I mean, we're human. If you're not on the sauce, you're not on the EPO. I think it's more than natural and more than obviously expected for someone to start to slow down. And I think that's what we start to see with O'Malley in that fourth and fifth round. But he kind of caught that second win in round 5, which was very impressive because once he landed that big shot, I think it was a right hand that hit Chito in the eye, caught that second win, was able to pick up the pace a little bit on him, and then take his time and dictate the rest of that fifth round, where then Chito now landed a beautiful body shot. And it looked like he was about to get O'Malley out of there. But, of course, it was at the end of the fight. Ain't no way that any ref even the one crazy enough to call Merab's TKO with Ricky Simone, ain't no ref gonna stop that fight with 1 second on the clock as you get hit with 1 second left on the clock, or 2 seconds, whatever it was. So, again, hats off to O'Malley. I thought he did a beautiful job. He's going to be tough to beat. And even when it comes to Merab, like, we already know going in that this is going to be a difficult fight. But we do know if Merab can get the takedown, the longer the fight goes, the better it is for Merab. And, of course, what O'Malley possesses is a very, very accurate right hand and left hand. And, of course, those long kicks and his footwork that keeps him kind of at range and lets him dictate the pace, kind of like MVP and Michael Venom Page. You know, so when you're able to do those kind of things, it makes it very difficult for opponents to fight you, because it's damned if you do, damned if you don't. If you don't commit, the fight takes a long time, and you can kind of play the long game, let your person try to overextend and try to catch them coming in, kind of a thing. Or if you commit, you get pieced up. And Sean can fight going backwards, and he can fight going forwards as well. It's the in-betweens where you kind of got to get him, where you're trying to beat him on his feints. But, again, I think it's going to be a very tough job for a lot of guys to beat a guy like O'Malley. I think right now he's starting to come into his own. Great win for him. It's hard for me to say a great fight, because a great fight leads to like a little bit of a back and forth. Like even the Saint Denis versus Poirier, I thought that was a great fight because there was some drama in the back and forth constantly throughout the fight, versus one guy dictating all three first rounds, and you kind of know who's winning. I mean, it's still a great technical fight in terms of exhibition from O'Malley. Like, he's shown a lot of technical skill. That's fun to watch. So don't get me wrong with that. But great fight for me, it's just when there's a little bit more back and forth, when there's a little bit more drama. When it's completely one-sided, it's hard for me to say that was a great fight. It was a great fight for Sean. Don't get me wrong. For him, it was a great fight. He did a good job with that. So, again, beautiful job for Sean. Hats off to him. The only thing that rubbed me the wrong way a little bit, again, and you could call me salty about it, you could call me a hater, but I stick up for my boys, and I hope you guys do too. But he should have called out Merab and did the right thing. I think it's kind of ridiculous for him to say, Dana, get the jet to Spain. Like, what are you talking about, dude? You defended the belt against a guy who wasn't even ranked in the top 5. They moved him up to the top 5 to make it look like it was better, like he fought a top 5 opponent. How did Chito move up in the ranking? Who did he beat to move up in the ranking? He just barely beat Pedro Munoz, who Pedro just lost a pretty decisive fight to Kyler Phillips. And no knock on Pedro. I'm not trying to throw strays, but I'm just trying to call a spade a spade. And I feel like there's been another title fight, and I don't want to say names. There's been another title fight where a guy wanted to avenge his loss, and the guy was ranked like in the top 15, and he won. But it's just one of those things where, yeah, you won, but it would be nice to fight the guy who's next in line. So that's the only thing that I feel a little bit awkward about, because I'm like, yeah, you won, but you won against a guy that we were all expecting you to beat. So as a champion, it's hard for me to put a lot of stock in that, because I just can't respect it as much. I do respect you win. Yeah, you go in there with anybody. It takes balls. And I'm just calling it how I see it. But at the end of the day, if you beat the next best guy, that's a true champion. And I think anybody with any type of respect for the game, you could say, well, this is not the way that the sport is being played anymore. That's fair. But we're talking about credibility in terms of the win. You go out there against a guy you're supposed to beat, and then you beat him to a decision. And even O'Malley was kind of like, damn, I really thought I could finish him. That would have been a perfect highlight reel. And it was like, well, he beat Chito, the first guy to finish Chito, and the first guy to put Chito away, the first guy to knock Chito down. There's a lot that you could be proud of in that win. But when it goes like that and you get hurt at the end of the round, yeah, a win. But now you kind of have that question mark of, well, if you fought the next best guy, would that fight have looked the same? If you fought Sandhagen, if you fought Merab, would that fight have looked the same? But it's a good win to kind of get your feet wet as the bantamweight king. And I do look forward to O'Malley hopefully doing the right thing and calling out Merab, and the UFC doing the right thing and making this fight. For now, I think O'Malley deserves the time off. Like any champion who defends their belt, they should get time off. They shouldn't have to have a quick turnaround. And people are going to call me salty all you want, but it's the truth. I'm calling it how it is. To make a fight that same night when you just had a war like that, I think it's fair to say O'Malley deserves a time off, and I think he understands that he should probably take the time off, especially he looks like his hand was jacked up in the cast. But I look forward to his next return, and of course, I hope it's against our opponent, our guy, and it's a great opponent in Merab. I think it'll be a fun fight for the fans, a fun fight for the country of Georgia, and give Merab his fair, just due. It's kind of like the Bilal situation. Give the guy his fair, just due. Give him his fair shake. He earned it, bar none. He should have been in there tonight. Unfortunately, he wasn't. But now it's an opportunity for the UFC to do the right thing. It's an opportunity for Sean to do the right thing. Be the gangster. Be the badass. Call out the next best guy. Get people to see that you're not afraid to fight the biggest, best guys in the division. Not picking fights that's going to make you look like a superstar. Because, again, that was a tailor-made fight for Sean to look great. We all knew O'Malley was the more skilled fighter. We knew Chito's best shot was durability and to come back later in the fight and to win that way. Unfortunately, Chito came up short. So the way the fight game goes, I do think Chito will be back. So Chito, hold your head up. And again, as a man, I want to make sure I take this time out to say, hey, brother, you could talk all this shit about me all you want. Like, for me, it's whatever. I really don't mind it if you feel that way about me. I mean, you see me in person, you talk to me, and it's one thing, and then the other thing, you get in front of a camera, you try to be this Mr. Cool guy. Again, I had no real inside information on your training camp. This is just what I heard. People came up to me and told me this for whatever reason. Bullshitting on the podcast, talking with my friends. And I know you're probably going to say, I don't give a shit what he says. Dude, again, like I said, I just want to make sure it's not anyone thinking that I'm purposefully trying to get in anyone's head or sabotage a fight or change the betting lines. I was bullshitting with the guys on the podcast. And as a man and as a competitor, I do recognize that people talk about my fights and my weight cuts and things like that. So I thought it was all fair and game for me to talk about that. But as a competitor and I guess as a man, I don't want to come off like I'm being malicious and trying to take him out of his zone. So, Chito, if you're listening, if you even give a shit, as you say, Mr. Too Cool for School, you don't care about anything, I think you do. But no hard feelings, like I said. And heal up and hope to see you back and hopefully get back in the win column. With that said, Dustin Poirier, woo! The diamond, baby. The diamond lives forever. Yo, crazy fight. Congrats to him to get that done, man. That was amazing. We had a couple people in the house who were going for Saint Denis. Guys, that was a crazy comeback finish for Dustin Poirier. And I was starting to worry because I'm like, man, Saint Denis looking good. He's putting on the pressure, and this is what he does. He just brings a crazy storm. He might not be the most technical coming out of the gate, but he brings hell with him. And when he fights reckless like that, he gets guys out of there. He hurts them, and he hurts them bad. So that was my thing. Fortunately for Dustin, he was able to weather the storm, and the veteran was able to show his experience, his cleaner striking, and he was able to find the chin a couple of times. And like I said, good old faithful lefty, that southpaw left cross. He hurt Justin Gaethje the same way before Justin caught him with the head kick. It's just one of those things. It's the fight game. You zig, you zag. Sometimes you get caught. And, man, much love to Dustin getting it done and showing people that he's still here to stay. Look forward to seeing what's next for him. I heard Anakin and them talking about maybe a Justin Gaethje trilogy should be on the line if Gaethje wins. I just think that's a crazy fight to make that soon. Like, come on. Like, I don't think we need to see that for the third time. I would love to watch them fight all the time, but I want to see one of them progress to something, right? We want to see one of them trying to pursue something, which is the belt. We want to see one of those guys get the undisputed belt and challenge Islam. Obviously, who fought one of them already? I don't know if any of them fought Islam yet. I don't think so. So either one of those guys will be a great challenge. But, of course, Gaethje's now fighting Max Holloway. If Holloway wins, it changes and shuffles everything. Then Arman Sharyukian is fighting Charles Oliveira. If Oliveira wins, and it gets crazy. And that logjam at 155 is nuts. But how good was that, man? Poirier jumping on that guillotine. Brother, come on, man. I know you say you're not going to stop, but, brother, you got to chill with the guillotines. There was so many guillotine attempts. Thankfully, Saint Denis put himself in a position for Poirier to escape And I was a little bit worried with the rear naked choke situation because obviously we've seen the Khabib situation, we've seen the Charles Oliveira fight. Um, I just think those guys are a little bit different, and maybe the pressure of those moments kind of got to Dustin versus the pressure of this moment with Saint Denis. Maybe he was a little bit more composed. It wasn't really stressed as much as he was in the Khabib and the Oliveira fight. Higher stakes. Sometimes the moment gets to people because I'm like, I think these guys are tough enough to know how to keep their chin down, fight their hands. I think they do enough jiu-jitsu at the very minimum to understand that. And that's the only reason why I think he even got finished in those positions. But that's the fight game. You never know what's going to happen until you get in there. So it was good that he was able to defend, weather the storm of St. Denis early on, came back in that second round, and that was fun to watch for as long as it lasted. St. Denis is going to be back. He's a marauder. That guy's tough as shit. Looking forward to his next fight. I don't know who he's going to be, but I think he should chill out a little bit. Obviously, KOs are bad, and that last follow-up shot from Dustin, man, that was a big one. And I think those are the worst ones when you're kind of just laying there unconscious of what's really going on. Like maybe he was, maybe he wasn't, but dazed and out of it, just laying there, and another one just follows up and bake right on the chin, puts you out even more or just does even more damage, especially with the canvas right behind your head. I think the right thing for him to do would be to take some time. And like I said, breaking down this fight, I think St. Denis leaves his head on the center line a little too much. And I thought Dustin's boxing, his defense was going to be a little bit cleaner and more crisp. It's going to be harder to hit cleanly. And I thought he was going to be able to land that left hand. He did. Then he finished it up with that right hook. And that's what sat him down. Great fight from both guys. St. Denis, he's a little reckless. I think he comes out very crazy and wild and brings a hellstorm with him, and he gets guys out of there early. But I think Dustin showing that he was able to weather that storm was huge for him, and wait for him to turn the kid back, and great fight for Dustin Poirier. Next, MVP comes out in a big way. Like, I know people were a little like, I thought he was going to finish him kind of thing. Like, guys, it's his debut fight. Let him get his feet wet. He fought Kevin Holland. If Holland had a little bit more of a offensive wrestling game, him being able to get MVP down like that, maybe that's a short night for MVP. Maybe. Or at least to round two. With that said, Holland wasn't really able to control MVP the few times that he got him into those positions where it looked like he was going to do some real damage or even submit him. So I am looking forward to see what MVP does next. He admitted that he needs some time to continue to improve. He's swimming with the big boys now. And welcome to the UFC. I'm looking forward. That footwork. How do you fight this guy? How do you fight Michael Venom Page? You go in, damned if you do. You pull back and you stand there, damned if you don't. So if you stand there, you give him an opportunity to use, instead of like his footwork, his bounce, his rhythm, his off-step stuff, and then he's got both hands, he's looking away, he's looking down, he's showing his legs, and then he's coming back with these darting punches. And then you run in, and he's backing up, he's sliding, and every time you try to step in, you try to blitz, he counters you, or he's out of there, nowhere to be found. That's a dangerous guy to fight. And again, fighting guys like that who are super good at counter-striking, just watch it. Like, I know people might think, oh, what do you know about striking? You're more of a grappler. Yeah, yes, but guys, I've been around the sport long enough, trained with a lot of these guys long enough where I can understand and break down these nuances. When you're fighting a counter striker, you have to be cautious of walking in, especially a guy who is as nimble and bouncy and athletic, like a Michael Venom Page, like a Sean O'Malley, like a Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, guys who can bounce, step back, and cover distance backwards and cover distance forwards. Guys who can move laterally, quickly, side to side quickly, laterally, same thing. I said the same thing's redundant, but you guys get my point. Very difficult fight styles to compete with. Because if you're stationary, coming down with the traditional hands high, you're trying to walk them down, your best opposition, chances of catching that opposition is sweeping out the leg, which Holland did for a split second, was able to sweep out the leg and almost looked like he's almost caught him with the right hand, but it cuffed him as opposed to landing flush on the chin. If it landed on the chin, we're probably having a different conversation in that one split second of a sequence that happened. Other than that, there was no real moments where it was like super close punches that were about to land on MVP. So when you're fighting a guy like that, I almost feel your best plan of attack needs to be more to sit back and relax. Because if you can be just a little bouncy and try to intercept your opponent when they bounce in and spring to attack, that gives you an opportunity. But guys, guess who loses? The fans. Because if one guy's not rocking into the punches, there's no excitement. If the other guy stays there and stays disciplined and waits, he say, okay, you're going to be bouncing around, hopping around. I'm not chasing you. Okay, come fight me. When Kevin Holland started doing the running man thing, okay, how about you have done that in the first round when you couldn't get to him in the first 3-4 minutes? Okay, right? So now we couldn't get to him in the first 3-4 minutes. Now let's stand in the center. Let's try to play our game mentally and get in his head. Stand in the center, do the running man thing, and now make him come to you. Stand there, put your hands up, and look at him. And now you force him to take action. Now he has to get out of his comfort zone where he's very strong counters. And now when he comes forward, you got to be able to quickly step back, shell up, and look for your counters down the middle or something. But you got to be careful with him not trying to duck his head and come up with like an uppercut or a flying knee or the same way he caught Cyborg and crushed his skull. Like, it gets dangerous. But that's like your best chance of winning that fight against a guy who's so much more athletic than you. Unless you're Khamzat Chimaev and you could go out there and grab him really, really quick. But that's not the easiest thing to do. Not many guys possess that skill set at 170. We even see Gilbert Burns take down Maddalena. And how many times did Maddalena get up against a BJJ black belt specialist who submitted just the who's of that division, you know? And we're not even getting there yet. So that's, in my personal opinion, how you got to fight a guy like that. If you think I'm wrong, leave it in the comments. If you think I'm right, leave it in the comments. But break down the fight, watch the footwork, and tell me what you think your approach would actually be fighting a guy like MVP. It's a very difficult style to compete with. And a fun fight would be MVP versus Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. Guaranteed stand-up fight, karate style versus taekwondo style. Who's going to be the one to break first and make that crucial mistake and get caught with that crazy kick or that crazy cross? I would love to watch that. I watch the hell out of that all day long. And again, it might be frustrating because not a whole lot is going to really happen early on. It's going to be a lot of point fighting, a lot of darting in and out. But it's so fast and so fascinating to watch because if used effectively and you land the perfect pinpoint shot, that guy is getting dropped or going to sleep. And that's what intrigues me to want to watch the fight. Man, I'm an enthusiast. I love stuff like this. Clash of styles. Styles make fights. Next up, we got Jack Maddalena over Gilbert Burns. That was crazy. That was crazy. Bro. Oh, even with MVP, the spinning elbows attack when he came back and he cut him. Ooh, child. Woo. That was filthy. That was filthy. I didn't like the little handshake thing that Kevin was doing. He did the same thing with Khamzat Chimaev. Went to go touch his hand, and then Khamzat essentially took him down and subbed him. Shortly after that, he got 1-2'd by MVP trying to do that. So I think the friendliness kind of got to stop. I think the first round is it. One hand touch if you want before the fight or at the beginning of the first round, and that's it. And even in the beginning of the first round, maybe when you're circling around the cage, you get in a fist bump. That's it. We don't need to do any more of that, closing the distance for your opponent and giving them an opportunity to get too close to you and you don't know what their intentions are. Protect yourselves all the time, my boy. Next up, Jack Maddalena versus Gilbert Burns. That was crazy. Insane fight to watch. Gilbert Burns up 2 rounds for sure. And then Maddalena just comes back in a huge way, lands that knee off the disengagement from the takedown. Maddalena was able to constantly get back to his feet, constantly defend the takedowns, create scrambles. Gilbert Burns looked like he was panicking a bit when it came to the striking, and I think that was the issue. Maddalena was just kind of like he was walking, and it was like just on cruise control, hanging out, walking, taking his time, cutting off the cage, landing his body shots, landing his combinations. Gilbert Burns was throwing these big bungalow shots. Nothing was really landing. He did have a moment where he like hit his guard, but nothing that stuck where it's like you cleanly caught him flush. And those are the shots that do the most damage. When it's just kind of like off the guard and things like that, it's a little bit different. It's not quite as impactful in my opinion. And I think we can all agree on that. And I think that was the difference. I felt Maddalena was landing the better, cleaner shots, better boxer. And he did like almost legitimately zero jiu-jitsu in my personal opinion. it wasn't even like he was doing like technical get-ups. He was just kind of scrambled and was able to just get out multiple times, which for me, that's fascinating. To do that against Gilbert Burns, like I said, he's a black belt jiu-jitsu ace. And to get out against him, that's not an easy thing to do. So hats off to Jack Maddalena. To land that knee, that was nasty. Then the finishing touches. The ref gave Gilbert a whole bunch of chances to try to get back into that fight. Much respect for him for that. It's always nice because, again, you go through these fight camps. I know people say you protect the fighters from unnecessary damage. But if you're covering up, this is my thing. If you're covering up, the damage is essentially on the forearms. You're not taking, clear shots where your hands are down. You're taking straight up brain damage shots. You're not getting concussed multiple times to the full extent of the force. Your hands are up. They're blocking the shots as best as you can. Yeah, is that intelligently defending yourself? Well, what's considered intelligent? Sitting there and letting him punch you clean? Is it trying to move while you're hurt and then getting caught even more? Or is it blocking, weathering the storm, and waiting for a moment where this guy is going on a crazy barrage, just throwing all these crazy punches? I'm like, all right, so should you move right then and there? Or should you cover up for a little bit? And if they let off, or you find a gap in the timing where it's like 1, 2, 3, and they're raining down, and you feel one impact, and then you roll, or then you try to push out and shrimp and get to your feet, or cover up, and so you can see where the strikes are coming from. You kind of have to look at this scenario from a fighter's perspective in what you're supposed to do. We don't go through training camps where, okay, at least for me, I haven't seen other gyms really doing this, and I've been to a lot of gyms. I haven't seen guys taking the time to go, okay, if you're hurt on the ground and you cover up in this position, I want you to explode. And what else are you supposed to do? You can't take the shots cleanly because then you're really not intelligently defending yourself. If you cover up, it looks like you want it out. Well, what are you supposed to do? You got hurt, you got rocked, you got to cover up and defend yourself so that you could kind of figure out your bearings so that you can move. If the guy was piss pounding you and beating up the body, okay, I get that. He's beating your body up. Now you cover up here and then he lands a clean shot to the head. All right, you're getting battered now. That is a beating. So you cover up, you stay there, damned if you do, damned if you don't. And then if you try to just get up and you get caught on the way up because you're rocked and now your equilibrium is all off, what are you supposed to do? Your center of gravity, you're literally feeling like you're walking on skates after you get rocked. You hit the ground, you try to pop back up. It's almost like a head rush where if you haven't eaten all day, you sit down and you get up too fast, you feel lightheaded. It's almost like that, but way worse because you're literally like a seesaw. So this is why I do want the fans to try to understand the perspective of the fighters when they're like, I was still good, I could have fought, or those shots weren't doing anything to me. Some guys, yes, for sure, they want out. But I think you let them take the shots to kind of see what their intentions are. And if it's not looking like they're trying to improve at all, guys, by all means, stop the fight. I don't think I'm being facetious. I don't think I'm being unfair. I don't think I'm trying to see someone get killed in there. I think I'm just being completely understanding of the scenario because I train. I've been in tough situations before, and I know what it's like to be in there because you have to think about all these possible things to get out safely. So with that said, I thought the ref did a great job letting Burns try to fight through the situation, and he got hit with some shots. He covered up. The ref told him to move a couple of times. He wasn't able to advance, and it was just one of those situations where in that position, I thought he gave him enough chances to try to find a way out of that hole, and he couldn't, and I thought that was a perfect stoppage. Just my personal opinion. And again, I think we're all for fighter safety, but at the same time, not a lot of us want to just get shortchanged. I think that's the best way we could put it because it's a lot that goes into this. Just imagine you go to work behind the scenes and you get an opportunity for an interview or something like that, and you do all this work behind the scenes, and then the one interview you get, you say one thing wrong and you don't get another opportunity to correct it or give another impression. It's just the first impression and that's it. You know, I know it's not the perfect analogy, but that's kind of what it is. Like, we want to get our fair shake, our fair due to try to fight through these situations as best as you can. Of course, there's been times where guys get crushed and their hands are limp, and it's like, there ain't no fighting back from that, bro. You're dead. You know what I mean? So I get that standpoint as well. With that said, we got the Yan fight congrats to Piotr Jan for him to come back from the hole he's been in. If he had lost this one, boy, I don't want to see him leave the UFC. I think that was the last fight on his contract. I don't know what he's thinking. I know before he was unhappy, saying he felt like he was robbed with my fight. He felt like he was robbed with the O'Malley fight. Guys, close fights aren't robberies. Piotr Jan, close fights are not robberies. You had a close fight essentially with Song Yadong, but there was a clear defining moments in those rounds where you could kind of tell who was winning the round. And I don't think in my fight, well, you could really make that argument other than rounds 4 and 5. And I know some people are saying round 1, but whatever. That's a whole nother conversation. But even the O'Malley fight, I thought it was a very close fight. I don't really feel like anyone really got robbed in that one. If it went the other way, I don't think it's a robbery. But it's nice to see him kind of show that he can still compete with the elitists of this division. For Song Yadong to be in there neck and neck, that first round was beautiful. I think Song wrestled a bit too much, trying to squeeze and hold on to that body lock. Guys, try to do this. This is a little test for your friends. With your friends, try to hold on to a body lock for a minute, squeezing your fingers and engaging your forearms where your forearm muscles are flexed, and even a little bit of your biceps where the guy's trying to get up and you're trying to constantly pull him down. And your friend doesn't even have to be going that hard. Let him just lightly try to stand up and you keep constantly trying to pull him back down, squeezing your grip. Do that for a minute straight and tell me what those hands feel like, because you're going to be like, sheesh. And I think that kind of took it out of Song a little bit going into that second round where Jan started to pick up his speed a little bit and was starting to find his combinations a bit better, get his own takedown, close out the second round on top in a close round and land some damage on the second round. And then the third round, I think you kind of seen Jan start to have a little bit more glimpses of the old version of himself, the one that people were super high on. I think he's still one of the best guys in the world. I heard one of the broadcasters say they think he's still one of the best. He might still be the best bantamweight on the planet. And I was just kind of like, brother, there's no way he could be the best bantamweight on the planet after recently being demolished 50-45, 50-44 by Merab Dvalishvili. That's absolutely crazy to even say. I guess maybe heat of the moment probably didn't remember that fight happened. But boy, that fight happened. So, again, this is Jan's moment. I'm not trying to shit on him. This is the broadcaster kind of, it's kind of like, come on, man, don't do that. Because then it's kind of like you built him up and then you said that and it's kind of like, come on, son, you just kind of ruined it. You ruined it. But again, really great fight. Both guys look phenomenal. Song is a dog. Like I said, the power of Song was what was questioning for me. Can Jan take those shots, especially on that high guard when he gets hit too many times? And it looked like he might have gotten him out of there in that first round. And then the wrestling happened, and I think that's probably where it was maybe a mistake by Song. Maybe. This is what a position, if him and his coaches go back, they got to look at that and go, did we go wrong here trying to wrestle? Maybe we should have taken him down and then look for our strikes right away instead of trying to grapple and maintain control. With that said, I thought Jan's combinations were great. Some of the body kicks he landed were nasty. Started to land some clean uppercuts because Song kept feigning heavily going down and Jan was biting on it crazy. It was a fun fight, man. Really, really fun fight. I thought the fans really enjoyed that one. It was good to see Jan get back in the win column. And, of course, even for myself, whenever I beat someone or lose to someone, I like to see them do well because I think it makes it look better for me. Like, if I lost to you, you winning makes it look like, okay, I lost to a pretty damn good guy. If I win and beat you and you keep winning, okay, I beat a pretty good guy who's clearly not a scrub. I beat you and you go on a skid and then you lose and you kind of get cut. It's kind of like, well, maybe I just beat a can. Not a can, but a guy who wasn't that great. I don't like using the term calling fighters cans because I just feel it's a little disrespectful. That's why I like when I have the other guys on the show because they can say that. I don't like saying stuff like that. I try to be a little more respectful with anyone that steps in that octagon, you know. But I do think there are levels to people still being in the UFC after you fight and compete with them versus not being in the UFC after you fight and compete with them. I think it shows your strength of competition, and I think that's the biggest thing we have to look at. Yeah. So. With that said, I think there were some other really good fights. Macy Barber looked great. I think the kid from Kazakhstan, I thought he looked pretty good. Robellis. Oh, man, that guy is going to be scary for these guys at heavyweight. I was just thinking, man, imagine him versus DC. Woo! Boy. Yeah, DC would have tried to wrestle that ass, of course. But just the fact that this guy is just raw manpower and throwing up kicks like that, that is a scary heavyweight. I wish we would be able to have the opportunity to see him versus John Jones or him versus Aspinall. We'll see. Aspinall's a bit younger, so maybe Aspinall in that matchup could actually happen if they fast track him. We'll see what they do. I mean, he's finished everyone in like under a minute, all 5 of his opponents. That's pretty insane and very, very impressive. I don't care who you are. That's insane to do. So congrats to Robellis. I can't wait to watch more of his fights. Robellis de Spain, I think that's how you say his last name, from Cuba. All those Cubans, man, they got some crazy genetics over there, bro. I don't know. It's like they building these guys in a lab. 6'7", longer reach than John Jones. Boy, I know he probably ain't a wrestler, but I'm telling you, that's a very intriguing fight. Just because it's just like two behemoths of specimens of human beings. Like, who does not want to see this guy fight anybody? You know what I mean? But with that said, guys, drop a comment. I hope to see Sean O'Malley do the right thing, give Merab his title shot. If you win, then I think from there, let Ilia defend his belt. If he defends his belt, then from there, potentially make a crossing of the guards at those 2 weight classes. But again, you have to get there first, and I think you need to clear out your contenders, not just beating guys lower in the ranking list, and then the UFC moving them up the rankings. And again, tell me if I'm wrong. You could call me a hater all you want, but you know I'm right at the end of the day. And I'm not trying to be a prick about it. I'm not trying to be like cocky about it either. I'm just calling it what it is. I'm a fight fan. I want to see the best guys fight the best guys. I want to get back to the Holloways fighting the best guys, the Jose Aldos fighting the best guys, the GSPs fighting the best guys, the John Jones fighting the best guys. I'm here for that. That is what I want to see. The Dominic Cruz fighting the best guys, myself fighting the best guys. That is what championships are supposed to be about. And then we could get into those super fights when guys clear out the division. With that said, mic drop. Oh, Funk Harbor Rum, April 1st. It's not a joke. April 1st is when we're going to be officially taking pre-orders. So, guys, I'm officially letting you guys know this now. We'll be officially taking the pre-orders then. The website and everything is up and running. But that's when the liquor, the spirit, would actually be in the States. So we want to make sure we don't jump the gun and take everyone's orders too soon. So April 1st will officially be live on my website, aljomanstone.com or funkharbor.com. You guys can check out any one of those websites to get your pre-orders in. Or you can sign up now on funkharbor.com. Link in the bio, in the description. And from there, you guys can put your email on the list so that you can get the notification when it does hit. Like I said, April 1st will be that date. And you guys can put your pre-orders in. Thank you guys for supporting, always rocking with us and tuning in. I'll see you guys next time. Oh man, UFC 300 is right around the corner. I can't wait. I'm nervous, excited, and just humbled to be on this card, humbled to be in a position where I'm chasing yet another dream in a brand new weight class. It feels like I'm starting fresh. And that's the scary part about it, which makes me nervous because I don't know what to expect. I'm training my ass off in the gym, and I really do believe April 13th will be my night. And from there, we'll see what happens. I'm excited to show what I could do at 145. I think the punching power is going to be completely different. I don't think I'm going to be exhausted. I think I'm going to be able to step on the gas tank and put some whiff behind my punches without fearing to get tired. And with that said, I hope you guys are excited for this. I plan on striking a bit with Cater. And, of course, I'm not going to abandon what got me to the show. I will use my kicks. I will use my wrestling. And I will use these hands. I'll see you guys soon. UFC 300. Like, subscribe. See you guys next time. Peace.